saying all sorts of interesting things, including in Dallas, where new head coach Brian Schottenheimer said his Cowboys are not running away from Super Bowl expectations.
I don't get caught up in the drought. This is 1 year. I mean, this is the first year of mine. I mean, I've been here a couple years. But, you know, when the season's over, we move on. Are we going to win the Super Bowl this year? I hope. I think we are. If we don't, you move on.
Can this team's past ever be burdensome with the Super Bowls and the expectations and all that? Do you ever think that weighs on guys?
I don't think so. Not when the head coach sits up here and talks about the ultimate goal is to win a world's championship. You know, I think it's to be celebrated. We want to win a Super Bowl, and we don't hide from that.
So there's Brian Schottenheimer, who, aside from his last name, is not the best-known head coach in the NFL, but you know him well, having covered him.
Look at Shotty sitting there like, I know I'm a rookie head coach. I'm not new to this. You know who my father is. Also, we covered Shotty when he was with Rex, and he predated Rex. He knows how quickly the tide can turn as far as the direction of a franchise. What you want is a guy sitting there, new head coach, saying, we don't shy away from expectations. We know exactly what it is because he's telling you, I'm telling them behind closed doors. You don't even have to ask me about it. You don't have to ask them about it because we talk about it. And Jerry Jones, his presence looms large in that building. His voice, obviously, we hear it once a week, probably twice on Sundays and then Tuesdays and all that. He's made it clear. I need to get a Super Bowl again. And I think Shotty, we don't know much about him as a head coach, is the rest of the world, but I think we got a glimpse into why maybe the Cowboys felt like, yeah, he is the right guy for this.
What do you think, Lewis?
Look, I don't think he's out of place, or it's like, you know, it's some kind of, you know, that he misspoke when he said that, you know, having Super Bowl expectations is something that he's talked to his football team about, and obviously everybody down there is aware of. They have a history. We know it's a distant history. We know it's been a long time since they really have been in the Super Bowl talk. But look, contrary to what everyone, you know, might believe, I think every football team goes into the offseason thinking as though with a few moves we can be in contention, because that's the way the league is set up. It's intended to be that way. Now, you may think that some owners and some general managers aren't necessarily making the moves that put you in those positions, but it's out there for you to have. Dallas, I'll tell you what, they catch the right breaks. This offensive line comes along the way it's supposed to. This wide receiver core is able to stay intact and stay moving in the same direction. This defense is able to play better in November and December instead of getting bludgeoned like they have in the past against physical football teams. They can be right there, just like many, many other teams can be. So I don't think, look, him talking about Super Bowl, I could not care less. And quite honestly, I think he is on the right track with the message that he's delivering.
I was skeptical of the hiring process in Dallas, and I have been cynical of the way it all went down, and that, okay, Shotty's convenient, we know him, he's not going to rough, but he's thrown a no-hitter this offseason. In every single moment he's been at that podium in front of the camera talking about culture, acting the same way every single day, being consistent, and I love this. I also, Kimberly was there with the Jets. I was with the Giants when Eli Manning was asked, do you think you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league? And Eli Manning said, yeah, I do. And people freaked out and said, what do you want him to say?
Right.
What if Shotty came out and said, you know what, Super Bowl might not be the goal.
Yeah.
We're looking to compete this year with the Giants and the Commanders for maybe second place, because the Eagles, this is what you want from a head coach, especially. Sure.
And especially with that team. The expectations and the attention are going to come in Dallas regardless of whatever it is the coach said in June. Here are two advantages that Brian Schottenheimer has, I think, walking in. He's a first-time head coach. That's unavoidable. But he has two things going for him. One, he's been around forever. This is not like a guy who was an assistant for 6 years. Brian Schottenheimer's been in the NFL actively and working in the NFL for decades. He also, and we have J.B. Bickerstaff with us here this morning as well, and we've constantly pointed it out, he quite literally grew up in this.
Yeah.
His father's one of the winningest coaches of all time, so he quite literally grew up with this. He's had a long time to be prepared to think about, how am I going to answer the question when I'm the head coach someday and they ask me about the Super Bowl? And that's what he came up with, and I like it. Now, the question is it realistic? And I will say the answer, let's not go all the way to Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's not.
Let's talk about, can the Cowboys be a really good team this year? And I think there's two keys. One, Dak Prescott has to be healthy. That goes without saying. You could say that about most teams in the NFL. Whenever he is, they're good. Lewis, the other one is this George Pickens thing.
Yeah.
This could go one of two ways, and the coach might have a lot to do with it.
No doubt.
And maybe not. If it works out, if they caught lightning in a bottle with a guy in a contract year who finally gets it, this offense could be pretty good.
It's either going to be great or it's going to be a problem. It's not going to be middle of the road.
Right.
It's either George is going to be catching 16 per reception and making those ridiculous one-handed catches outside the numbers, and him and CD will play off each other, or it's going to be one of those where Brian Schottenheimer is going to be answering a lot of questions about why isn't George getting the ball, why is George seem upset, why was George talking to you on the sideline. That's what it's going to be. Even more so than this, though, look, I still believe this about Dallas. Dallas will go as this offensive line goes, which has the potential with all the high-round draft picks to be one of the best in the NFL. And on the defensive side, again, how many times have you sat here in November and December and had discussions about the fact that Dallas just can't play the physical game in December and January? They can't do it. And if that's been corrected, Dallas will be right there. They'll be contending in the division. Those are the questions.
They got bullied last year.
That's right.
They got bullied.
That's right.
There are a lot of questions facing the Cowboys, not just the quarterback, not just the Pickens of it all, but I like that Dak is the entrenched guy. In Pittsburgh, there was a leadership void, particularly on offense. Even when you had Russell, you knew that Russell wasn't going to be there a long time. But also, their schedule, brutal. They start with the Eagles. The rest of the games get a little easier, and then their holiday slate is just terrible.
Yeah.
They face so many good teams. So I think the schedule, in addition to Schotty being a rookie head coach, we talk about the late game situations, game management and all that with the last coach, McCarthy. I think Schotty will have to answer.
Final word on this one, go.
I think Lewis said it right. It's all there for them, but a lot of things have to go their way.
Yeah.
They have to figure it out. Lose a Zach Martin and a Tyron Smith in back-to-back years and just be veteran. They drafted a lot of good young players. Those guys are going to have to block their butts off to really make
It's the three Tylers, man. It's Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker,
Tyler Smith. Yeah.
Those got three.
Tyler.
I know. I mean, I sat there listening to Brian Schottenheimer. I'm like, that's a smart thing to say. I agree with him. There's nothing phony about it. There's nothing off-putting about it. There's nothing stupid or eccentric about what he had to say or whatever. Simple and plain. We wanted to win a Super Bowl. We don't hire from that. But damn it, it's been 29 years. I hope we win a Super Bowl. But if we don't, we're going to go back to the drawing board and come back and try it again. Well, damn. What am I going to say about that? He's giving me no ammunition. No ammunition. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody else. I mean, Dak Prescott, be very clear, America. Put Kimberly up on there. I want to see her. I ain't seeing that mouse. Come on now. Keep on the screen. Dak Prescott is the most useless quote in all of sports. Doggy, you can go back 4 years for 4 years ago, Doggy. Kimberly knows this because I've said it many times. It don't matter whether it's 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. You can re-air the same quotes. Week 1, Dak Prescott after a win. This is what he gonna say. Week 1, after a loss, Dak Prescott. This is what he gonna say. Week 2, week 3, week 5, week 10, week 15. It doesn't matter. All you gotta do is go to the week, and if he's won a game, use that quote. If he's lost a game, use that quote. You don't even need AI. You don't need AI. It's the most useless quote. I mean, it's just senseless to talk to him. He has nothing to say, nothing. Okay, but he's a Dallas Cowboy, so he's gonna get endorsement deals. He only wants 2 playoff games in 10 years, but he's gonna be all right. So Brian Schottenheimer knows all of this and knows some of the asinine stuff that has come out of Jerry Jones' mouth, my buddy, who I root for. I wish nothing Jerry but the best. I love that man. But the bottom line is that he says some crazy stuff sometimes, at least this past year, okay? And you hire Brian Schottenheimer, who nobody wanted, okay? Nobody was thinking about, and you pluck him out of obscurity even though he was right there in your squad. And this man says the most sensible stuff. I said, oh, damn. I might not have the ammunition I'm looking for this upcoming season. And that's what has me.
Okay, but it wasn't just that Schotty said, we win a Super Bowl, cool. He said, we talk about it behind closed doors. I might be a rookie head coach, but I'm not new to this. My dad, I grew up in the league. I was with Schotty in New York. He predated Rex. He understands the tough questions. He understands the New York market. Schotty looked very comfortable saying, ask what you want. But we set the standard here. Everything he has said this offseason about building the culture. You can criticize the coaching process, but so far, Schotty has said everything that you'd want a head coach to say. Now, obviously, what happens on the field matters, but so far, that's how you want a head coach to handle himself.
100%. Steve's got Schottenheimer out to be Lincoln at Gettysburg. Right now.
Well, I gotta say, I was impressed with
Take it
it.
easy. Take it easy.
I think Steve.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn là móc khóa gấu. Vậy thì làm sao những con thỏ nó quên chữ bảo là